The Indian Army asserts that both India and China are committed to the objective of complete disengagement along the LAC. The statement comes after Army commanders meet at Chushul on Indian side on the 14th of July. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh along with Army Chief to visit forward areas of Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh on Friday. Defence Acquisition Council delegates powers for urgent capital acquisition up to 300 crore rupees to the armed forces to meet operational requirements. Rajasthan political drama continues to intensify as Sachin Pilot along with his supporters challenged Assembly Speaker's disqualification notice in Rajasthan's High Court. Matter to be heard by a double bench of the court. Prime Minister Modi to deliver a keynote address virtually at the high-level segment of United Nations Economic and Social Council session on Friday. Session to focus on multilateralism after COVID-19, which resonates with India's Security Council priority of reformed multilateralism. Flood situation continues to remain grim in Assam and Bihar with several places inundated and over 66 people dead. With 40 lakh people affected in Assam, Chief Minister takes stock at Kaziranga to assess damage caused by the floods. COVID recovery rate continues to improve across India and rises to over 63% with over 6.1 lakh recoveries. Active cases stand at 3.3 lakh with nearly 25,000 fatalities. Bihar goes under complete lockdown till the 31st of July while Bengaluru announces 7 days of lockdown. In international news, US Congress members urge President Donald Trump to follow India's lead and ban TikTok and other Chinese apps. Expressing concern over national security, 25 Congress members urge taking strong action to stop Chinese Communist Party's sophisticated espionage campaign. And in sports, FIFA announces schedule for 2022 World Cup in Qatar. 4 games will be played daily in group stage from the 21st of November onwards. Finals will be played on the 18th of December. Namaskar, you're with the latest here on DD News and DD India. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be delivering a keynote address at this year's high-level segment of the United Nations Economic and Social Council session on Friday at the United Nations in New York. The PM will be speaking at the valedictory session along with the Prime Minister of Norway and UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. The annual high-level segment convenes a diverse group of high-level representatives from the government, the private sector, civil society and the academia. The theme of this year's high-level segment is multilateralism after COVID-19. What kind of UN do we need at the 75th anniversary? Set against the changing international environment and the COVID-19 pandemic, this session will focus on critical forces shaping the course of multilateralism and explore ways to bolster the global agenda through strong leadership, effective international institutions, a broadening of participation and enhanced significance of global public goods. This will be first opportunity for Prime Minister Modi to address the broader UN membership since India's overwhelming election as a non-permanent member of the Security Council on the 17th of June for the term 2021-22. The theme of the high-level segment of the ECOSOC on the 75th anniversary of the founding of the UN also resonates with India's Security Council priority, wherein we have called for reformed multilateralism in a post-COVID world. It also recalls India's role as the holder of the inaugural presidency of the ECOSOC. The PM had earlier delivered the keynote address virtually at the 70th anniversary of the ECOSOC in January 2016. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh will visit forward areas of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh on the 17th and 18th of July. Army Chief General M.M. Naravane will accompany him. During his 2-day visit, The Raksha Mantri will review the security situation in eastern Ladakh. This will be the Defence Minister's first visit to Ladakh since the face-off with China started. Now, global tech giants are investing in India with an aim to strengthen digital infrastructure and to manufacture affordable tech and 5G solutions. So, on the other side, many countries have begun to shun Huawei technologies. The US has threatened to impose visa restrictions on Chinese companies like Huawei Technologies. UK has banned Huawei from its 5G telecom network. Now, does this mean that a secure made in India 5G solution could end China's global 5G ambitions? More in this report.
As India is moving ahead to launch 5G services, the government has ensured that ahead of the rollout, a robust digital infrastructure is in place. Various global companies are investing in the lucrative IT market of India. With an Indian telecom player's announcement that it's all set to roll out the first Atmanirbhar, or completely indigenous 5G network, the nation moves another step closer to realizing Prime Minister Narendra Modi's call for a self-reliant, self-sustaining digital India. Speaking at the Google India event that saw an investment of $10 billion being promised to India by the tech giant, IT Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad reiterated India's commitment to bridging the digital divide and creating a truly inclusive society.
Why India is important in the present world? A stable democracy, an open society, and seeking to transform the life of ordinary Indians to the power of technology. That is what Digital India is about. And therefore, this digital transformation, emphasizing upon digital inclusion, bridging the digital divide, and allowing more and more innovation, is a part of that process.
The development comes as Huawei and ZTE are under the scanner in many countries, including India, for potential data privacy and security issues in their 5G equipment for mobile networks. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has said that the United States would impose visa restrictions on Chinese companies like Huawei Technologies, which he accused of facilitating human rights violations.
State Department will impose visa restrictions on certain employees of Chinese technology companies like Huawei that provide material support to regimes engaging in human rights violations and abuses globally.
The U.S. Federal Communication Commission has declared Chinese telecom giants Huawei and ZTE as national security threats. The move will ban U.S. telecom companies from using federal funds to buy and install Huawei and ZTE equipment. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom has banned Huawei from its 5G telecom network. UK has decided to ban the purchase of 5G components from the end of this year and to order the removal of all existing Huawei gear from the 5G network by 2027.
The government agrees with the National Cybersecurity Centre's advice. The best way to secure our networks is for operators to stop using new affected Huawei equipment to build the UK's future 5G networks. So to be clear, from the end of this year, telecoms operators must not buy any 5G equipment from Huawei. And once the Telecom Security Bill is passed, it will be illegal for them to do so.
New Zealand and Canada have also left Huawei out of their 5G plans. France has ruled out a total ban but reportedly urged 5G telecom operators to avoid using Huawei equipment. Recently, US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo praised Reliance Jio as a clean network while being critical of Huawei's 5G equipment. So will India's upcoming Made in India 5G solution end Huawei's global 5G ambitions? This is something that only time will tell. Arun Sharma's report for DD News.
The Rajasthan High Court has granted time to Sachin Pilot and 18 other dissident Congress MLAs to file an amended petition challenging the disqualification notices issued to them by the Rajasthan Speaker. The petition against the move to disqualify the rebel MLAs from the State Assembly was taken up for hearing at 3 p.m. but senior advocate Harish Salve, appearing for the petitioners, sought time to amend it. Salve argued that the MLAs wanted to change the constitutional validity of the notices and needed some time to file it afresh. The matter would now be heard by the division bench of the High Court. The 19 MLAs were sent notices on Tuesday by the Speaker after the Congress complained that they had defied a party whip to attend 2 Congress legislature party meetings. The Pilot camp argues that a party whip applies only when the Assembly is in session. In its complaint to the Speaker, the Congress sought action against Pilot and the other dissidents under paragraph 2(1)(a) of the 10th schedule of the Constitution. For more details, we are now joined by our correspondent Vishal Baristo. Vishal, what can you tell us in terms of the kind of arguments that were forwarded, for which now it seems that the petitioners have been given some time, by the court?
Well, a very good evening to you, Gautam. Yes, indeed, it's an interesting move by the Sachin Pilot camp. It's a breather rather for them, and at the same time, I would say for the Rajasthan Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot also, because Sachin Pilot, his camp has time and again questioning the merger of BSP MLAs into Congress government, and they have been saying that since we have withdrawn the support from the government, it is already in the minority, and they have been asking for the floor test. So, as rightly is put in by the Sachin Pilot camp, that the whip would only be issued when the House is functioning. So it's an interesting move, and Sachin Pilot will get some more time to gather more support, because earlier he was claiming to have support of 30 odd MLAs, but since he could gather only 19, so he will have some more time at the same time to fight the battle both in the Rajasthan Assembly and also in the court. Gautam?
Right, and there's been speculation that there might be some rapprochement as well between Sachin Pilot as well as the Congress, but this kind of court case, doesn't it put paid to any sort of such speculation?
Well, a lot of efforts were being made by the government from the Congress side to somehow convince Sachin Pilot and his supporters to come and join. They've been saying that the doors are open and they should come and become part of the government. But now it seems that it would be very difficult for both the parties to reach on a compromise. Though let me also tell you that nothing is impossible in politics, and as far as the 19 MLAs goes apart, 18 MLAs goes, I beg your pardon, apart from Sachin Pilot, you never know. But people supporting him, like the tourism minister, former tourism minister, I would say, because he is now switched camp with Sachin Pilot, though still the tourism minister till the cabinet reshuffle is not taken place. Vishwendra Singh has been very vocal time and again. He's been tweeting, and his supporters are also saying that the time will tell as to who wins the battle. So it now appears that the compromise cannot be reached, but let us not rule out the other supporters, other supporting MLAs, as to whether they would join the Congress government, because Sachin Pilot has said that he would not be joining the BJP. So a lot of things are going on and a lot of speculations are on. But as of now, both sides have drawn their swords, and it seems that they would settle the matter only in the court.
Right. And why exactly, if we return to the legal arguments today, on what grounds have the petitioners been given the time by the court, the opportunity by the court rather, to file their plea again?
Well, Gautam, when it comes to the legal proceedings, normally the party who needs time can always go and buy time, and as you heard that now the matter would be heard in the division bench, because now we were all hoping that by 3 p.m. the matter would be decided, and all eyes were focused on that. But as the court has now given a breather, so it is certainly an opportunity for both the parties to gather more support as much as they can.
Okay. Okay, thanks a lot. We leave it there at the moment and see how things go further on in court. That's where I guess the battle is being fought at the moment, even though there might be some movement behind the scenes as well. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Vishal Barrister, and a good evening to you. Well, flood situation in Assam remains grim, with 26 districts affected, where 3,376 villages under 93 revenue circles are still reeling under water. As the floodwaters have inundated some more areas in the last 24 hours, the number of affected people has risen to over 36 lakh in the state. Barpeta remains the worst hit district, with 5,29,879 affected population, followed by Gwalpara and Morigaon districts with above 4 lakh affected each. According to the Assam State Disaster Management Authority, a total of 36,42,546 people have been affected due to the flooding in Assam. With 7 more deaths reported yesterday, the death toll has gone up to 66 this year due to the floods. Water levels in rivers across the state are still above the danger mark. More than 1,27,000 hectares of cropland has been submerged. In Guwahati too, water in the Brahmaputra river has been flowing above the danger mark. Meanwhile, rescue and relief operations are being carried out with full strength by NDRF and SDRF using 180 boats. Around 4,000 maroon people have been shifted to safer places so far. And Mumbai has been witnessing heavy rain since Tuesday, and incidents of waterlogging have been reported from some parts of the city as well. As of now, no complaints of waterlogging have been registered due to the reduced intensity of rain since yesterday, and vehicular traffic is normal for the time being. Indian Met Department has issued an orange alert for Mumbai, Thane and Palghar for today, with forecast of heavy to very heavy rain at isolated places. High tide hit the city in the seas at 9:17 a.m. with waves measuring 3.43 meters. It's been advised not to venture close to the sea or in waterlogged areas. And the flood situation remains grim in some parts of Bihar as well. However, the Met Office has said that the axis of the monsoon's trough line has shifted towards eastern Uttar Pradesh. The adjoining area of western Bihar is now facing the wrath of rains and floods. The Met Office has forecast heavy rains, thunder showers and lightning incidents in these areas. The flood situation in Darbhanga and West Champaran is still grim, where people are sheltering over embankments. Even these embankments are facing the threat of erosion. Boats remain the only mode of transport in flood-submerged villages. Union Civil Aviation Minister Hardeep Singh Puri today said that a total of 6,87,000 stranded Indians were brought back under the Vande Bharat mission till the 15th of July.
The total number of people, citizens repatriated as of yesterday, 15th July, those are the latest figures I have, is 687,467. Out of this figure of 687,000, the Air India Group has transported 215,495. Indian private carriers have brought back 12,258. Indian charters brought back 135,000, 1,35,000. Foreign charters brought back 2,11,361. So this is the total figure of 687,467.
Now, addressing the media in Delhi, the Civil Aviation Minister said that negotiations are on at an advanced stage with three countries, France, US and Germany, for creating air bubbles. He said Air France will be operating 28 flights from Delhi, Mumbai and Bengaluru to Paris.
We are at a very advanced stage of negotiation with at least three countries that I am aware of. And in the case of one, we have signed formally. Let me tell you, Air France will be operating 28 flights on the Delhi, Mumbai and Bangalore sector and France, I think Paris, between 18th July to 1st August. Then in another case with the United States, we have an agreement for United to operate 18 flights between India and the US between 17 and 31st. But this is an interim one. We have a request from the Germans also. I think Lufthansa is almost done.
Answering a question on the privatization of Air India, the minister said that the government doesn't have a choice, but it will be done keeping in full view the interest of its employees.
The question was, are you persisting with privatization? We don't have a choice. We have to. And I always say that Air India, when it is ready for privatization, it is a very attractive thing, but it will be done keeping in full view the interests of all those who have served this great airlines over a period of time. It's not that we're doing it. It's not that somebody is taking the cut and others are not. The cuts will be, across the board, but that is something that the CMD and the board will determine, and then things will be worked out, but it's proceeding in a very harmonious manner.
Union Civil Aviation Minister also said that drones will increasingly come to occupy the very important space in India's aviation sector.
Now, drones will increasingly come to occupy a very important space in our civil aviation, not only in terms of our skies, but delivery of essential services. They are being extensively used in operations against what are called locusts.
Now, meanwhile, a complete lockdown has been imposed across Bihar for 16 days to contain the spread of COVID-19. The lockdown will be effective till the 31st of July. The decision has been taken due to an alarming spike in COVID-19 cases in the state during the last 3 weeks. All government offices, public corporations and educational institutions will remain closed in the state during this period. Private and commercial establishments will also remain closed. However, ration shops, dairy and vegetable shops will remain open. In view of the lockdown, the entry to Patna High Court complex shall be restricted to very few authorized persons. Other persons, including staff, are not required to come to the office from today onwards till the 23rd of July. The order has been issued by the Patna High Court. The court further added that registrar lists in IT will arrange the work of virtual courts for the cases listed so far during the period of lockdown. The staff has also been asked to keep their mobile phones on mode. During the lockdown period, the court officer will ensure proper sanitization of the entire premises of the court. And a week-long shutdown has also been imposed in Bengaluru urban as well as rural districts. The lockdown will be enforced till the 22nd of July. All forms of public transport, including buses, metro and taxis, are banned. Only emergency services are exempt. E-commerce companies are also allowed to operate between 5 in the morning till 8 at night. Similarly, food delivery is also allowed between 5 in the morning till 10 at night. Interstate and interstate road travel is not allowed, but domestic flights and trains will operate. Let's now take a look at the COVID-19 update from across the country. Well, the total number of people recovered from COVID-19 has crossed the 6 lakh mark today. According to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, a total of 6,12,814 people infected with the coronavirus have recovered across the country so far. With this, the recovery rate has reached 63.25%. In the past 24 hours, a record 20,783 people recovered. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is 3,31,146. And Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan today inaugurated newly built Rajkumari Amrit Kaur OPD in Delhi's AIIMS. The building is dedicated to OPD services and physiotherapy for the elderly people. This will be first of its kind public sector hospital solely devoted to physiotherapy for elderly. Each floor of this 9-story building facilitates sitting of over 500 patients. Delivering his keynote address to young doctors on the occasion, Dr. Harshvardhan called for brainstorming in a bid to ameliorate hospital administration and to solve menaces apart from COVID-19.
अच्छे क्वालिटी की ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग होनी चाहिए. कैसे जो अभी भी बची हुई तकलीफ़ें हैं, समस्याएं हैं, कुछ इंस्टीट्यूशन की हो सकती है, कुछ डिपार्टमेंट की हो सकती है, कुछ मरीज़ों की हो सकती है, कुछ मरीज़ों के रिश्तेदार की हो सकती है, कुछ जो भी एम्स में आना चाहते हैं लेकिन आ नहीं पा रहे हैं उनकी हो सकती हैं, कुछ वेटिंग लिस्ट से जुड़ी हो सकती हैं, तरह तरह की चीज़ें हो सकती हैं. तो डायग्नोसिस जब हम अगर मरीज़ की कर सकते हैं, उसकी बीमारी की कर सकते हैं, तो मुझे लगता है कि बाकी जो चीज़ें हैं उनकी डायग्नोसिस के ऊपर भी बहुत गहराई और गंभीरता से चिंतन होना चाहिए.
The Health Minister further said that doctors must provide ideas to take AIIMS to new heights.
एम्स का जो लेवल है, इसका जो स्टेटस है, इसकी जो गरिमा है, इसकी जो इज्जत है, उसको और ऊंचाइयों तक पहुंचाने के लिए आप सब व्यक्तिगत तौर पर क्या क्या कंट्रीब्यूशन कर सकते हैं, इसकी एक प्रक्रिया शुरू करिए. आपको बहुत बहुत बधाई है कि एक बहुत स्टेट ऑफ द आर्ट जगह पे अब आपको काम करने का मौका मिलेगा.
Lauding the efforts made by medics across the nation in tackling COVID-19, the Health Minister stated that India's efforts to curb the spread of the pandemic have actually been showing positive outcomes.
आज हमारा फैटेलिटी रेट 2.57 हो गया, रिकवरी रेट 63.25 हो गया. रोज़ शाम को हम 7 बजे देखते हैं कि कितने लोग देश में वेंटिलेटर पे थे, ऑक्सीजन पे थे या आईसीयू में थे. तो मैंने देखा शायद कल शाम को, आज सुबह का डाटा है, उसमें सबसे कम लोग जो है वो वेंटिलेटर पर थे, ऑक्सीजन पे थे या आईसीयू में थे.
Let's now take a look at the global updates on COVID-19. Well, the coronavirus pandemic has claimed lives of over 5.84 lakh people worldwide, while over 1.35 crore have contracted the infection so far. US and Brazil remain the worst affected in terms of COVID-19 infections and fatalities. The US has so far recorded over 34.99 lakh cases and over 1.37 lakh deaths, while Brazil has recorded over 19.66 lakh infections and over 75,366 deaths. Talking of the death toll worldwide, US and Brazil are followed closely by the UK with 45,138 fatalities. This is further followed by Mexico, Italy and France. Tunisian Prime Minister Elias Fakhfakh has stepped down on Wednesday, plunging the country into a political crisis as it tries to weather the economic fallout of the coronavirus pandemic. Fakhfakh presented his resignation to President Kais Saied. Sources say the president had asked him to do so as momentum grew in parliament to oust the prime minister over an alleged conflict of interest. The collapse of Fakhfakh's government, less than 5 months after it was formed, will further delay urgent economic reforms and complicate efforts to handle any new surge in coronavirus cases after Tunisia brought the first wave under control. And that's all we have for the moment in terms of updates on DD News and DD India. But for all the latest, stay tuned right here to DD News as well as DD India.